I'll go with this. Okay, so digital was a bit difficult presently, so I cannot put order on the answer presently. Okay, so is it visible to you? I'll go some basic definitions. I'll go with the basic terms itself. So whether you are able to know those things, whether you can able to answer it, I just want to know. Okay. So do
Okay.
you know about the force?
Yeah,
Is it visible to you?
yeah, I can see, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. How many types of forces are there?
How many types of forces?
Yes. Okay. Okay. We'll do one thing. I'll explain it. Okay. If you have any difficulty, you can ask me then. Okay. Fine.
There are two types, right?
Sorry. Yes. Okay. What are the two types? Can you able to tell me?
Contact and non-contact.
Yes, correct. Good. So forces are two types actually. One is contact
Hmm.
force, one is non-contact force. Good. Okay. So I think you are familiar with the contact forces also, it seems.
Not much, sir.
Okay, fine. So remember when you're discussing about the 11th topics, it was similar to quite similar to your ninth and 10th topics itself. So there is no much difference in it. Okay. Contact forces are two types. One is muscular force. Second one is frictional force. Have you heard these things? Muscular force and frictional force?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, good. So non-contact forces are four types are there. Gravitation force, I'll use shortcuts. Okay. So second one, electromagnetic force. Third one, strong nuclear force. And fourth one, weak nuclear force. You are familiar with these things also, I think. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, we called the third and fourth as nuclear forces. The third and fourth as nuclear forces. Okay. Gravitational force, electromagnetic force, strong nuclear force, and weak nuclear force. Okay. So this gravitation force we will discuss in our this chapter. Like for example, gravitation. There is a chapter called gravitation. Okay. It will be in your class 11, volume 1. It is your 8th chapter round. And electromagnetic force you will discuss in your class 12th topics. And same thing, strong nuclear force and weak nuclear force, you will discuss the same thing in your class 12th topics. Okay. But contact forces we'll discuss in your topic called laws of motion. Okay. After vectors, you are going to discuss about the laws of motion in your schools. Okay. Right. So what you'll do, we'll go
Okay.
from your units of measurements, just basic topics, because you are already familiar with that. I won't stress on that more. Okay. So when you're discussing about the force, we'll take a simple example of force. You know about the Newton's laws, right? There are three laws of the Newton's laws, correct? Okay, can
Yeah,
you able to
there are
tell me
three
what are the
laws.
Newton's laws?
Mm, there is an equal and opposite
Yes,
force.
correct. It is your third law. Yes, good. Good.
And an object remains
Remains
stationary
at
until
rest.
an external
Yes, correct.
yeah
We call it as
until an
inertia. We call it as inertia. Yes, good. Then,
and I don't know the second one, sir.
okay, fine, good. What we'll do, so we'll see the Newton's laws first because when you're discussing about the class 11, there is a topic called physical world. It is your first topic actually. So because it was bit theory, so your schools won't discuss because it was a theory topic and it was not important. They'll feel that. But basically the topics and what are the contents are there, it will start with the physical world itself. Okay. Now we'll see the Newton's laws
Okay.
first. Okay. So Newton's laws are three things are there. Okay. First law, we call it as law of inertia. Law of inertia. Okay. So INERTA, inertia. Second one, law of momentum. Momentum. Do you know what is momentum? Third law of reaction. Third law of reaction. Okay. Law of inertia, law of momentum, and law of reaction. Okay. So this third law is nothing but every action has an equivalent opposite reaction. You already know this one. Law of reaction is nothing but every action has an equivalent opposite reaction. When you take an example, for example, an elastic ball. When I throw an elastic ball to the wall, what will happen? It will bounce back. Whatever the force you are applying, the same force it will bounce back. So this is nothing but law of reaction.
Yeah.
Okay, you already know this one. Now, so inertia, whatever you have told me that, so the object, for example, we'll take an example. Okay, we'll see the inertia first of all. Inertia is nothing but, for example, I'm taking an object. Okay, when we are discussing about the object, remember it has some mass. Okay, so what is the difference between mass and weight? You may have studied in your units and measurement itself. What is the difference between mass and weight? Are they both same?
Mass is in terms of kg,
Good. Okay.
kilogram.
Yes. Yes.
Weight is, I'm not sure, sir.
Okay, fine. So are you feeling that are they both same?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay, fine. Okay, we'll take an example with the loss of first law itself, inertia itself. For example, assume there is an object. The object
Okay.
is nothing but it has its own shape. For example, it is a rectangular shape. It was occupying some space. When any object occupying some space, we call it as mass. The unit of mass is kgs, grams. Okay. Any object which was occupying some space, it is nothing but your mass. Okay. The same mass when you are discussing with respect to acceleration due to gravity. The same mass when we are discussing with respect to acceleration due to gravity, we call it as weight. Weight is nothing but force.
Weight.
Weight is nothing but force.
Okay.
Okay, that means, for example, when you're holding an object in your hand, okay, which has some mass, okay, when you're dropping it, what will happen? It was trying to attract towards the earth, correct? Because of the acceleration due to gravity. So we called it as acceleration due to gravity. You already studied this one in your class 9th also, gravitation, correct? Yes, we'll discuss. So this force, whatever we are discussing, this is force because the mass was getting attracted due to acceleration due to gravity. So force is equal to mass into gravitation. The unit for weight is Newton. Remember, the unit for weight is Newton. Mass is different, weight is different. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, mass is occupying space. Weight is nothing but when we are discussing with respect to acceleration due to gravity attracted towards it, we call it as weight. And this unit is Newton. Okay, both are different terms. Okay, now, so when we're discussing about the inertia, for example, I'm taking an object which has some mass, I'm placing here. So is the mass having some acceleration? Is it having any acceleration?
No.
It was on a horizontal table. So it is on a horizontal table. Okay, so there is no acceleration because there is no forces acting on it. Okay, until or unless external forces acting on this mass, it won't move at all. Correct? So if we are taking any object on a slanting position, without any force acting on it, it will try to accelerate. Okay, any object is at rest condition until or unless external forces acting on it, it will try to move, gaining some acceleration. We call it as inertia. Inertial object. We call it as inertial object. We call it as inertia. And without any forces on it, the object was moving. We call it as non-inertia. Okay. So inertia and non-inertia. Okay. So in inertia, actually there are three types of it. Okay. So it was split into three things: inertia at rest, inertia at motion, and inertia at direction. Have you studied this one? Inertia at rest, inertia at motion, inertia at direction. No?
No.
Okay, fine. So we'll see some times. I'll give some examples because it is a demo. When you're taking the regular classes, then I can go in detail about that. Presently, we'll say some example. For example, you're standing in a bus. I'll take an example in a bus. Okay, you're standing in a bus, for example, or you're sitting in a car. Okay, when you're sitting in a car, when the bus was trying to, or when the car was trying to take a left turn, your body will try to move towards the right. Correct? How you feel that?
Yeah, I've noticed it.
Yes. So when the bus was or the car was trying to take your left, it will try to your body, because the body is in contact. It is in contact with the car. It will try to take the right turn. So because it is you are nothing but it is your laws of third action. Okay, law of reaction. Every action has an equivalent opposite reaction. Okay. So this is nothing but inertia at direction. So remember, you are not moving at all. So because of the car moving, because you are in contact with the car, your body is moving in opposite direction to it. Correct? So we call it as direction. Okay. And same thing, when the bus was suddenly started or the car suddenly started, can you able to feel the jerk?
Yeah, we do.
Yes. So when you are at rest condition, when the object was suddenly started, when the vehicle was suddenly started, we can able to feel the jerk. So it is nothing but object which are at rest condition. This is your second one.
Okay.
Third one, motion.
Okay.
So for example, when suddenly the car was stopped, when the car was suddenly stopped, for example, the car was moving forward direction. When it is suddenly stopped, halted, what will happen? You will fall forward or backward.
Forward.
Yes. So that means when the object was stopped, that means it will be opposite direction to the force and will move forward direction. So again, depends upon the motion. The same thing, when the object was suddenly started, we can feel the motion was backward direction. Again, every action has an equivalent opposite reaction. This is your third one, motion. Okay. So
Motion.
inertias are three types of that: rest, motion, and direction. Clear?
Direction. Mm.
Yes. Okay. Non-inertial objects are ourselves. For example, so me, myself, and you. Okay. So those are moving objects are there. We call it as non-inertial objects. Like for example, without any forces, the objects are moving. We call it as non-inertial objects. Okay.
Okay.
Non-inertial objects. EIA, non-inertial objects and inertial objects. Whatever we are discussing, like table, chair, the objects are called inertial objects, which we require force, which we should not require, not force. We do not require any force acting on it.
Yeah.
So we require force in inertia, not in non-inertia. Okay, right. So this is your first law. Now we'll see the second law. Second law, we call it as momentum, or we can say the change in momentum. Change in momentum. You may have studied this change in momentum in your class 9 called work and energy. There is a topic called collisions. Have we discussed that one? Single dimension collision.
Yeah, we did.
Yes, okay, fine. Okay. So you may have seen this formula. P is equal to mass into velocity.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, what is P?
Potential.
No, momentum. P is momentum.
Okay.
Potential energy is nothing but mgh. Kinetic energy is half mv square. We'll discuss these things. We'll discuss these things one by one. So the second law is we call it as change in momentum. Change in momentum. Okay, we'll see a small example. Assume there is a mass. Assume there is a mass. I'm placing this mass on a horizontal table. I'm placing this mass on a horizontal table. It was at rest condition. It was at rest condition. What is the meaning of rest? Rest, we can say static. So it is not moving. So we can say when we are differentiating about the rest, remember we have to say at there is no acceleration and there is no velocity and there is no displacement. So these three terms you may have studied in your motionist pipeline, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, good. Okay. Now, so for example, this object is at rest condition. When I'm applying some force, remember when I'm applying some force, at that particular instant, it will gain some velocity. Because of this gaining of velocity, it will accelerate, correct? When it is gaining some velocity at that particular instant, we call it as momentum. P is equal to mass into velocity. Momentum relation is P is equal to mass into velocity. Okay. Now remember, you may have studied in vectors also. Force is a vector quantity because there is a direction for force. Velocity, there is a direction for velocity. Acceleration, there is a direction for acceleration. And momentum also, there is a direction. So it is a vector quantity. We are studying now, right? So force, vector, magnitude, it is a value, and F cap, it is a direction. So F vector equal to F magnitude and F cap, correct?
Correct.
Right. Now, so when we are discussing about the momentum, remember the object was started with respect to time period. So object was moving from one point to other point. Remember, it was starting from one point to other point. So the relation is F is proportional to dP by dt. This is your second law, change in momentum. So it was changes with respect to time period. The example is, so the same mass, when it is started from one point to other point, that means it is your initial condition and it is your final condition. Okay, so when we are discussing about the initial, they'll be having some velocity, I'll consider it as v1. They'll be having some final velocity, I'll consider it as v2. Okay, when the object was moving from initial point to the final point, there is a change in between. There is a change in between. So the time period is t1 here, the time period is t2 here. So when we are discussing about the change or the difference is nothing but it is final minus initial. You may have studied this one in your motionist pipeline and motion vectors. The differentiation, it is nothing but final minus initial. Okay, I'll rewrite it as, so here the momentum, I'll consider it as T1 because it is T1 is nothing but mass gaining some velocity V1 with respect to time period T1, and V2, it is your momentum T2. Okay, so the final T2 minus T1 with respect to time period, it is T2 minus T1. So the difference when you are considering it as dP and the time period as dt. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So any difficulty in this in understanding?
No.
Are you familiar with the differentiation and integration part?
Yeah, I learned it in maths.
Okay, good, ma. Fine. Okay, now, so when we are discussing about the change in momentum, so the relations will be like this. So it is nothing but d by dt. Remember, when we are discussing with respect to time period, mass will be constant always. Mass won't change, but the velocity changes. It was changing from one point to other point. So it is mass separately given. So it is dv by dt. So change in momentum, and that change in momentum is nothing but mass separately separated, and from this relation, so change in velocity with respect to time period. So it is mass into acceleration. So F is equal to ma. It is your Newton's second law. Okay.
Okay.
So we call it as change in momentum. When the change in momentum, it was changing from one velocity to the other velocity, it is nothing but gaining an acceleration. Okay, that force related to momentum, which is equal to force is equal to mass into acceleration. So when anyone asks you what is change in momentum, you simply you can say that F is proportional to change in momentum by time period. Change in momentum, time period. Or you can say F is equal to ma. If you are not able to understand this one, or if you cannot able to remember, say that F is equal to ma in the Newton's second law. Correct? First law is inertia, second law is momentum, third law is reaction. Okay. Any doubt on this?
No, sir.
No, fine, good. So when we are discussing about these Newton's laws, you have to understand there are different type of forces out there. So you already know contact and non-contact. And remember, when you're discussing about the class level, only we are related with contact forces. Okay. So there is a simple force called balance and unbalanced force. There will be different type of forces. So push, pull, non-contact, contact. There are so many things out there. It will be depends upon your applications. Now, so we'll see the balanced and unbalanced forces. What is balanced and what is unbalanced? So this concept you will discuss in laws of motion. It is your chapter 4. Okay?
Yeah.
Laws of motion. Now, I'm taking a mass. Remember, whenever I'm discussing about the object, it has its own mass. Remember, it has its own mass. Now, I'm taking an object which has some mass. So what I'll do, I'm placing on a horizontal table. It was at rest condition. There is no acceleration at all. So acceleration is equal to 0. That means it is your inertial objects. Correct? Now, what I'll do, I'll apply some force on this mass. Then what will happen? Will it move?
Yeah. So
Yes. So in the same force direction, it will try to move. Correct? Now, what I'll do, I'll take this force as F1. I'll take this force as F1. Now, I'm applying one more force in opposite direction as F2. I'm applying one more force in opposite direction to the mass M1. It is F2. Assuming F1 is equal to F2, then what will happen to the mass? Will it move?
No, it won't.
Yes. So that means there is no acceleration. When there is no acceleration, the mass won't move. Even though there are forces, the acceleration is equal to 0. We call it as balanced force. Okay. Remember this one. So there are so many conditions are there when you're discussing about the laws of motion. It is your first one. Second one, and one more thing. So the net force, that means here F1 and F2 both are same. So that means I can write it as F1 minus F2 is equal to 0. Correct?
Yeah.
So that means the total force is equal to 0, or sum of the forces is equal to 0. The summation, the sigma symbol is nothing but your summation. Sum of all the forces is equal to 0, or net force is equal to 0. When we are discussing about the balanced force. Remember, net force is equal to 0, acceleration is equal to 0. Clear? Okay. Are you copying this one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, okay. No need. I'm just doing it.
I'm doing it along with you.
Yeah, okay, good, fine. Okay, next we'll see second one as unbalanced force. Unbalanced force. We'll see that. So already there are two types of forces. Now what I'll do, I'll add one more force, F3. Okay, I'll add one more force. Now what will happen to the mass? Will it move? Will it move?
Yeah.
I didn't say that F1 is equal to F2 or F3. Okay, or I'll say F2 plus F3 is greater than F1. Okay,
Yeah,
combine
then
F2 plus F3. Okay, in which direction it will move? Right side or left side?
left.
Left side. So
Left
where the
side.
force is greater, the same direction the acceleration will be there, correct?
Yeah.
So when there is an acceleration, okay, we call it as unbalanced force. When there is an acceleration, we call it as unbalanced force. When there is no force, we call it as
Okay.
balanced force. Remember the relations. Okay? Clear? Okay. Any doubt?
No, sir, not.
Right, fine. Okay. Now, so there is one more thing called impulse. There is one more thing called impulse. Impulse means, for example, the same object, same mass, I'm placing on a horizontal table. So when you are applying some force, at that particular instant, the maximum force applied in a shorter time period. Okay, in a shorter time period, when we are applying the maximum force, we call it as impulse. 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 The maximum force applied in a shorter time period. If you draw a graph, so in a time period, so y-axis is force. So the maximum force applied in a shorter time period, we call it as impulse. The symbol is I. Impulse. 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 I is equal to force into time period. The relation is I is equal to F into T. Okay. I is equal to F into T. So the unit will see. Unit is force is Newton. So time is second. So the unit is Newton second. Okay.
Okay.
Right. So now we already seen this one. It is related to your loss of motion. What you'll do, we'll come back to your units of measurement. There is a small thing. Maybe you know about that one. Units. The units are much important actually. So how many types of units are there?
3 types.
Okay. Can you tell me that one by one?
CGS,
Good.
FPS,
Yes. Good.
and SIUMI.
Okay, fine. Okay, we'll split into 4 types. Units will split into 4 types. Yes, ma, correct. MKS, CGS, and FES. And remember, we are not going to use this FES. So in our Indian conditions, we only use MKS and CGS. What is M here?
Meter.
Good. So this first term, it was related to your length, meter and centimeter. Okay, so kgs and grams, it is mass and it is time. So the units will be split into basic quantities. Whatever the length, mass and time, we call it as a physical quantities. So there are so many physical quantities. Okay, in the physical quantities, we'll relate with respect to mass, length, and time. These are the basic physical quantities. Okay, now, and FPS is nothing but foot pound second. Foot pound second. Again, it is related to your LMT. But we are not using this one as per our Indian conditions. Okay, we'll only use MKS and CGS. Now, earlier you told me about SI. What is SI unit?
System International.
Supermark. Okay, it is International Standard Unit. How many types it has been splitted? Do you know this?
I don't know.
No issues. If you know, tell me, or else I'll tell you.
No, sir, I don't know. I've not heard
Okay,
of
fine.
it.
Okay, fine. So actually, it was split into 3 things as per our syllabuses. Okay, one is fundamental unit, one is derived unit, and one is supplementary units. Okay, you may have studied. Okay, fundamental, derived, and supplementary units. Okay,
But
so these supplementary units. Sorry.
I learned it under the physical quantities.
Okay, good. Yes, it was under physical quantities. Yes. So, but actually, these
So
to your units, those are scientist names are there. Okay, we'll discuss that. There are some references there. Okay, SNIT is split into fundamental, derived, and supplementary units. Fundamental units are 7 types are there. Fundamental units are 7 types are there. Apart from these 7, all are derived units. So that means we are discussing about the physical quantities. All the 7 physical quantities, okay, are 7 types, are fundamental units. So apart these 7 physical quantities, others are derived units. And these one supplementary units are related to angles. We'll discuss this one. So there is a plane angle and solid angle. Supplementary units are divided into 2 things, plane angle and solid angle. This plane angle relation is
Radians
much
and
important.
steradian.
Ah, yes, ma, correct. Radian and steradian. Those units are radian and steradian.
Yeah.
Good. But steradian solid we are not going to discuss because it is not important for us and it is not there also. We have only the plane angle. Okay, the unit is radian. And you may have relation. You may know this relation also. Theta is equal to arc length by arc radius. Theta is equal to
Yeah.
arc length by arc radius.
Yeah.
Yes. So this method we call it as parallax method. Do you know what is parallax method?
I'm not sure about it.
Okay, parallax method is used to measure the distances between the two planets or angle between the two planets. So we can able to find the distances or we can able to find the angle. So this relation is important. Theta is equal to arc length. This L is nothing but arc length by arc radius. This theta is nothing but your angular displacement. Remember, so the relation will be related to your angular as well as the linear. Okay, theta is your angular displacement, L is your linear displacement, R is your radius. Okay.
Okay.
Right. So we'll see the first 7 types of fundamental units. We'll see the MKS and CGS difference also. After that, we'll go to the next topic. So fundamental units are 7 types. One is length,
Mass,
mass, good, time,
time,
temperature,
temperature,
okay, good, current,
amount of substances. Yeah.
current, yes. So sixth one is luminous intensity, and seventh
And
one is
amount of
amount of substance.
amount of
Good. Yes, yes, correct. Amount of substance. Good. Okay. So if you see that this length, mass, time was related only to MKS and CGS. There are different terms out there. But others, they don't have any MKS and CGS. Remember, others, they don't have any MKS and CGS. They have only one type of unit. For temperature, I can say SI unit is Kelvin. Temperature, it is Kelvin. Or there are so many things out there, degree Celsius and Fahrenheit. But when you're discussing about the temperature, it is your Kelvin. Okay? Now, current. What is the unit for current?
ampere. A.
Yes, ma, good. Yeah, good. Luminous intensity?
Candela.
Yes. CD? Yes, good. Amount of substance is mole. We'll discuss this amount of substance in your chemistry part, correct? Okay. So these your physical fundamental units, but apart from these fundamental units, 7 types, there are so many physical quantities are there. Okay. Like for example, we'll take some examples. These are under derived units. For example, work. Second one, force. Third one, pressure. Okay, there are so many things are there. Apart from those 7, these are your derived units. You already know this one. Now, we'll see some relations. So here, work is equal to force into displacement, correct? Force is equal to mass into acceleration, and pressure is equal to force by area. These are your relations, correct?
Yeah.
And do you know these units?
Units.
Yes. So remember, to identify these physical quantities, we require some units. Those units are, for example, now we'll split into MKS and CGS first. MKS and CGS. Okay. So force relation is nothing but mass into acceleration. Force relation is mass into acceleration. Now I'll convert this force into MKS. MKS is nothing but mass is kg. Acceleration is meter per second square. Correct? Kg meter per second square. On CGS it is gram centimeter per second square. Correct?
Okay.
But for this work is nothing but force into displacement. So for this relation, I'm going to multiply with the length. So displacement is length. So it is kg meter square per second square, gram centimeter square per second square. Okay, I'm just multiplying with the length. So length is mass, meter here. Okay. Now for this one, I'll divide by area. Area unit is meter square. Area unit is meter square. So here this force by meter square. So the relation will be kg meter inverse by s square. Kg, that is grams centimeter inverse by s square. So these are your units for this work, force and pressure under MKS and CGS.
Okay. Okay.
Now, but So sometimes we'll call what is the unit for force, na? Newton. Then what is it? Those are nothing but SI. Those are nothing but SI. So these are MKS and CJs. Under SI, we'll discuss about the Newtons. We'll discuss about the scientist names. So who are all invented this one. So introduce this one. So we are going to name this one. So it was internationally, it was approved. Okay. Now, so for work, SI unit under MKS. Remember again in SI also it was related to MKS and CJs. SI unit under MKS we call it as Joule. You may have studied Joule. 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 The symbol is capital J. Okay, under SI for CGS it is ERG, ERG. It is a unit under CGS for SI for work. Clear? Any doubt on this? Right. So for this force we call it as Newton. Under MKS we call it as Newton. Under CGS we call it as dyne, D-Y-N-E, dyne.
Okay.
Dyne. For pressure, remember for pressure only MKS SI will be there, which is Pascal. PASCAL, Pascal, PS. Okay, and there is no CS. We call it a CS pressure, SI unit. That's it. So there is no specific name for pressure. Okay, so under CS. So only we call it as pressure, Pascal. Okay. So there are different types out there. There are so many physical quantities. All our physical quantities we will derive from the fundamental units alone. So what are the derived quantities? We call it derived units. Okay, there are so many things out there. So you will discuss these things under your units and measurement. And when you're discussing these things, there is one more thing called dimensions. You know this one, right? Dimensions. So the dimensions will be considered as M, L, and T. Correct? Okay. What are the dimensions for work?
Dimension for work is ML to the power 2.
Yes.
T to the power
T
minus
power
2.
minus 2. Good. M, L, T power minus 2. And M, L power minus 1, T power minus 2. So these are your dimensions. And okay, what are the uses of dimensions or what are the applications of dimensions? Do you know that? Why we are using and where we are using the dimensions?
It is used to correct. It is used to check the correctness of equation.
It is used to check the correctness of equations, or it is used to derive the relations also between the two equations. We are going to derive it, or we are going to create a relations also, or we are going to check the relations also. There are so many applications, and these dimensions so much of importance. There are so many important relations also. Okay, you have to practice it. Good. Can I erase this one?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so we'll go to the next topic. We'll jump to the next topic. Okay, motion is straight line. Under motion is straight line, there is a concept called relative velocity. Do you know this one? Relative velocity. The motion is straight line, it is here. It's a small relation actually. Okay. We'll see that. With some example, we'll see. Assume there are two vehicles out there. There are two vehicles out there. It is vehicle A and vehicle B. Both vehicles are traveling in the same direction. For example, both vehicles are traveling in the same direction with velocities VA and VB. VA and VB. Now, for example, I'm sitting in the vehicle A and one more person is sitting in the vehicle B. What I'll do, I'm comparing my speed or my velocity to the other vehicle. When I'm comparing my speed or my velocity to the other vehicle, so there will be a relation between these two. So velocity is compared from A vehicle to B vehicle. So it is nothing but relation between the two objects when you're comparing from one point to other point. And for example, when it was compared from B to A, we called it as VB to A. Okay? Can you able to understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. So VA to B or B to A. Now, for example, these two velocities are same. For example, VA is equal to VB. VA is equal to VB. Then what will be happening? VA minus VB, it is 0. Correct?
Yeah.
Right. So now I'm going to compare with respect to this one. So when I'm comparing A to B, the relation will be VA minus VB. When you're comparing B to A, it is VB minus VB. When both are same, what will happen? It will be 0. Okay. Or I can say the relation when both objects are traveling the same direction with the different velocities, the relation for velocity A to B, it is VA minus VB. B to A, it is VB minus VA. Okay.
Okay.
So it is your relative velocities when both are traveling in the same direction. Remember this one. Okay. Now, one thing, for suppose when these two are traveling in opposite directions. Okay, it is VB. When these two are traveling in the opposite directions. Okay, so when these two are traveling in opposite directions, VAB will be VA, it is opposite, so it is minus of minus VB. And VBA is nothing but VB minus of minus VA. So the relation will be VA plus VB for the both cases. Okay, when these two are traveling in opposite directions. Clear? Any doubt on this one? So there are so many problems are there. So you are going to discuss this relative velocity in motion straight line and as well as this relative velocity in your motion plane also, vectors and scalars. This concept is important. Done?
Okay.
Right. Okay. So we'll go to the next concept. So you know about these relations under equations under motion straight line. There are three equations are there. Are you familiar with the three equations?
Yeah.
Okay. What are the three equations? Can you tell me?
V is equal to U plus AT.
Good. Next.
X is equal to UT plus
Yes, not
half
correct.
AT square.
Good. Third one.
V square minus U square is equal to 2AS.
Yes, fine. But when you're discussing about the three equations, so these are all your acceleration when we are applying some force. But the same equations will be related with respect to your gravitation. Have they discussed this one under gravitation?
No.
Okay, now same equations, only same equations. But so for example, what I'll do, I'm taking an object. Sorry.
Under gravitation.
Uh,
Yeah, we did undergrad.
Yes, correct. So when we are discussing about the gravitation, so when the object was moving towards the gravitation, so acceleration will be acceleration due to gravity and it will be plus. When the object was moving away from the gravitation, when it is moving upward direction, so the acceleration due to gravity will be minus. The same terms will be there. When it is moving away from it, it is minus G, and it is minus G. You may have studied this one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, same thing, but the acceleration will be different. So remember, whatever the object's acceleration, there are two things are there: acceleration and acceleration due to gravity. This is your applied acceleration. When there is a force, this is your applied acceleration. M is M into A. It is nothing but Newton's second law. But this one depends upon the gravitation. Again, the relation is F is equal to mg. Whatever the force we are discussing, this is your gravitational force. F is equal to mg. Again, it is nothing but Newton's second law. Okay.
Okay.
Right. So next topic. So there is a concept called friction. It was there in your classes, schools also, class 10th or class 9th. Do you know what is friction?
Yeah, but I'm not sure with the correct definition for it.
Okay, no need of definition. If you know that, just let me know. So we'll correct it. So remember, when we are discussing about the studies or when you're studying the physics, okay, no need to mark the definitions. When you are able to understand the concepts, it will be easy for you. Now, what I'll do, I'm taking a mass M. I'm applying some force. I'm trying to apply some pulling force. I'm trying to apply some pulling force. Remember, the friction depends upon your surface. The friction depends upon your surface. There are two types of surfaces. One is smooth surface. Okay. One is rough surface. Okay. Smooth surface, rough surface. So under smooth surface, there is no friction. That means when you're placing an object on a smooth surface, what will happen when you slightly touch it? What will happen? It will move faster. Correct? It will move faster. When you're placing the same object on the rough surface, even though when you're applying the force, greater force also, it won't move. It will slightly move because there is a roughness between the object and as well as the surface. So the friction depends upon this roughness. Okay. And it depends upon this floor also. Okay. Now, so when you are pulling this mass, okay, in right side direction, okay, so what will happen? It will move. That means it was gaining some acceleration. But because of this roughness, what will happen? It will try to oppose. That opposing force we call it as a friction. Okay, or it will try to resist. We can say it is resisting. resist or opposing. Okay, when we are discussing about the friction, it is nothing but your opposing force or resisting force. Okay, and that resisting force depends upon your friction. So whatever we are discussing here, we are discussing under horizontal positions. When we are discussing about the horizontal positions, there are no acceleration due to gravity. There is no gravitational part. Okay, now when we are discussing about the vertical condition, or when we are discussing about the friction in detail, so there is a concept called normal reaction. Yeah, have you studied this normal reaction? Okay, this normal reaction depends upon the weight. This normal reaction depends upon the weight. That means when we are applying some force, there will be opposing forces acting on it, and same thing, there will be normal reaction which is acting opposite to the gravitation, because when there is having some weight, then only the object will try to get some friction part. Okay, if there is having more weight, it will depends upon your friction part. So then what will happen if it is a lighter weight? What will happen? It will move easily. Because of the weight, they'll be having some friction acting on it. All are related here. So if you see that, so friction, F, small f is friction, and this is your force, applied force. So friction is proportional to your normal reaction. Whatever I'm discussing here, it is under static condition. Remember, it is under static. So or we can say static friction, or we can say the static friction. So yes, friction is directly depends upon the normal reaction. Friction is directly depends upon the normal reaction, and normal reaction depends upon the weight of the object. I told you weight is nothing but mg. So they'll be having some proportional constant between these two. This proportional constant we call it as coefficient of friction, mu. Okay, mu we call it as coefficient of friction. Coefficient of friction. This coefficient of friction depends upon the surfaces. This coefficient of friction depends upon the surfaces. Clear? Or I can write it as mu mg. Okay, F is equal to mu mg. It is one of your relation. Okay. Right? Okay. So now we'll see your frictions. Actually, your frictions are three types are there. The frictions are three types are there. So whatever we are discussing here, it is a static friction. Okay. Now, so what I'll do, I'm taking a inclined position. I'm taking an inclined position. I'm placing an object on the inclined position which has some mass. What I'll do, without any forces acting on it, it will try to slide easily. Okay, without any forces acting on it, it will try to slide. Remember, it was sliding. Okay, so first one is static friction, second one is sliding friction. Sliding friction. Okay, and the friction will be acting only one side. Only one side. Other three sides, there is no friction. Now, so the friction will be acting opposite to the force. It is your force. Opposing to the force, there will be having some friction. And same thing, there should be normal reaction, right? Perpendicular to the mass, correct?
Yeah.
But there is a small thing. If you remember that, so this, whatever the platform I have raised, it will be making an angle theta, okay, from the ground. Okay, but you see that the always remember the acceleration is straight away downward direction. But this normal reaction, which is opposing, it was making an angle theta. Always it is acting with respect to angle theta only. Okay, so you may have studied in your vectors, any object when it is making an angle theta with respect to x-axis, it is cos theta, and perpendicular to it is sin theta. Have you studied this one?
Yeah, I've read about it.
You may have studied. Okay, any object, like for example, it is nothing but resistant, your resultant. It was there in your vectors, triangle and parallelogram also. When there are two vectors are there, okay, when there is a resultant vector making an angle theta with respect to one of the vector, it will be cos theta, and other is sin theta. So same thing here. It is your gravitation. It is making an angle theta. Okay, so this theta is nothing but as whatever the raised platform is, the same angle theta. So the perpendicular opposite point will be, it is mg cos theta. And for this perpendicular point is mg sin theta. So whatever mg sin theta is nothing but your force here. Whatever mg sin theta is nothing but your force. So if you see the normal reaction and gravitation, both are in opposite directions. So F is equal to mg sin theta and n is equal to mg cos theta. N is equal to mg sin. Now we'll see the reaction relation. So F is equal to mu mg cos theta. It is one of the equation for your friction. And force F is equal to mg sin theta. Okay.
Okay.
So these relations are important when we are discussing about the friction. Okay.
Okay.
Now there is one more thing called rolling friction. Third one was a rolling friction. rolling friction. So the same thing when you are taking an object, circular object, what will happen? So when it is trying to roll, same thing, everything is same. When it is trying to roll, what are the friction it was creating? It will try to create all over the surface of the object. They'll be having friction in all over the surface because it was rolling, both rolling and as well as sliding together. So if you see that comparing all the three, these two we call it as dynamic friction because it was movement. When there is a movement, dynamic friction, or we can say kinetic friction. Dynamic friction, or we can say kinetic friction.
Kinetic friction.
Yes, dynamic or kinetic. Now, so if you see which one is greater, now you see if you see which one is greater. Static friction, it was at rest condition. When we are applying force, even though we are applying force, it will try to stuck there itself because of the roughness. Static friction is greater than sliding friction. So sliding friction is greater than rolling friction. This is your sequence under friction. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So, till this, any doubts?
No, sir. I'm clear with everything.
Okay, fine. Now, so which now we are on, remember whatever you have studied in your class 9th and 10th, the same concepts are there. Nothing much, nothing less. Okay. Okay. And whatever you are studying in your class volume 1, it was same, it was easy only. But we'll see the volume 2. Volume 2. Do you know what are the topics are there under volume 2?
Volume 2. Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me that? If you remember, you can tell me. No issues.
No, I need to look into the textbook.
Okay, fine. Okay. Right. So under volume 2, there is a concept called properties of bulk matter. Properties of bulk matter. Okay. This is a concept related to 3 chapters. One is properties of solids. Okay. Properties of liquids, that is fluids, and properties of thermal expansion. Properties of thermal expansion. Okay. Properties of solids, properties of fluids, and thermal expansion. So this is your first chapter from volume 1, the second and this third. And fourth one is your thermodynamics. Whatever you are going to study in your chemistry, the same topic will be there, but there are related to your equations. There are so many things, work function related to physics. Okay, thermodynamics.
Dynamics is in the first textbook, right?
Yeah, it was there in your chemistry also, right?
Yeah.
But
Chemistry.
it was there in your physics. Physics will discuss about the work function, how the work was. We'll discuss this one, and it was much important compared to all the things. And next one, kinetic theory of gases. It was simple and easiest topic, kinetic theory of gases. Kinetic theory of gases. And the next one was oscillations. Oscillations. So oscillations means you may have studied about the time period, simple pendulum, how the time period was discussing, how many types of motions are there. Those things you are going to discuss under oscillations. And it was easy, important. And the last one is waves. This oscillation and waves both are related to each other, and this was important, equally important like thermodynamics. Clear? Solids, properties of fluids, thermal expansion, thermodynamics, kinetic theory of gases, oscillation, and waves. These are your topics. Clear? Right. So we'll take a few topics from this one, and I'm going to explain it. So maybe you may have studied this one in chemistry also, some cases. Okay, first we'll see the solids. Only simple topics, small topic. Solids, under solids, properties of solids. It is your first chapter. There is a term called stress. There is a term called stress, and there is a term called strain. Have you studied these things?
No.
Okay.
I might study, but I don't remember.
Sorry? Okay, fine. Okay. No issues. I'll relate this stress with the pressure. This stress with pressure. Okay. So stress we'll discuss under solids. Pressure we'll discuss under fluids. Remember that stress we'll discuss under solids, pressure we'll discuss under fluids. For example, so I assume I'm taking an object. Okay. So like a rubber band, for example. Okay. So what I'll do, one side I'll try to fix it to the wall. Okay. One side I'll try to fix. So it is your elastic object. What I'll do, I'll try to stretch in other side. That means I'm applying some force. Again, it is nothing but your contact force. Applying some force, okay, downward direction. Then what will happen to the rubber band?
It will expand.
Yes, it will try to stretch. So initially the length is L. Initially the length is L. When I'm trying to expand, there is a change in length. Again, the small change. The small change, I'll consider this as del L. The small change, I'll consider this as del L. Now, if you see that, so the force I'm applying on this particular area, then only it will try to stretch, cut. Right? So when I'm applying some force on a particular area, then only it will try to stretch. So force by area is nothing but your stress on solid particles. Force by area is nothing but your stress on solid particles. Remember, the pressure is under fluids. Fluids is nothing but liquids and gases. Fluids are nothing but liquids and gases. Pressure is nothing, stress is nothing but on solids. Okay, force applying on an area is nothing but stress. And if you see that when you are applying some stress, then only there will be strain. That strain is nothing but length. So the strain relation is change in configuration by original configuration. Change in configuration by original configuration. That means it will try to expand. So the change is nothing but del L. So it was changing. So I'll try to relate with respect to length. Del L by L is nothing but your strain. Clear? So del L by L is nothing but strain. So change in configuration. So either if you see that there are different types are there. We can say volume, we can say area, we can say length. There are different types are there. But only thing is stress is proportional to strain. Stress is proportional to strain. Now here we are relating it. When we are equating it, they'll be having some proportionally constant K. This proportionally constant, we call it as modulus of elasticity. Modulus of elasticity. Remember, whatever we are discussing, it is related to your elastic properties only. Modulus of elasticity, K. Modulus of elasticity. Clear? Okay. So these modulus of elasticity are three types are there. Okay, because in demo itself, I don't want to stress on these things. Okay, these are small topics only. Modulus of elasticity. One is Young's modulus. Young's modulus related to your length. Young's modulus related to length. Second one, bulk modulus. Bulk modulus related to your volume. Okay, and third one is your rigidity modulus. Rigidity modulus is related to an angle theta, and the symbol is capital G. It is Y and it is B. Young's modulus, bulk modulus, rigidity modulus, or shear stress. Shear modulus, we can say shear modulus. So it was related to your theta angle. Clear? These are your three types of modulus of elasticity. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Now, so I'm going to the next one. Now, thermodynamics. So under thermodynamics, okay, how they started thermodynamics in your school?
No, not yet, sir.
Okay. Are you familiar with the thermodynamics name itself? What is the meaning of thermodynamics?
Related to sun.
Related to sun. Just read it. That's it. What is the meaning of thermo?
Thermo is heat, right?
Good. What is the meaning of dynamics?
Dynamics.
Okay. So you can say dynamics. I told you dynamic friction when there is a movement, or we can say the kinetic friction when there is a movement. Remember transfer. Thermodynamics is related to your heat transfer methods. Okay. So when you're discussing about the heat transfer in your chemistry, there are three laws are there. Okay, maybe I don't know whether you are discuss those things in your chemistry. Zeroth law, first law, and second law.
Okay.
Have you gone through these things?
No.
Okay, fine, good. So here, when we are discussing about this chemistry topic, so there is no equations or there is no relations like chemical bondings. Those are not there. But we'll discuss about some process. Okay, those process again depends upon these laws. Zeroth law, first law, and second law. Now I'll discuss these laws, then I'll stop it. Okay, so we'll stop this demo, and you let me know how it is, and okay, we'll discuss later. So first we'll see the zeroth law. Zeroth law. You may have studied this one. Do you know about the equilibrium? What is equilibrium? If you know it, tell me. Word called equilibrium. There is a word called equilibrium.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, please tell me.
It is a state in which opposing force or influences are balanced. A state of balance.
Yes, we can say balanced. Okay, good. Somewhat it is nothing but equal. Sometimes the basic or simple it is nothing but equal. Okay, right. So we'll take an example for the zeroth law. We'll see zeroth law. Okay, for example, so here I'm taking a block of ice. I'm taking a block of ice. I'll give a name as C for this one. Okay, there is a block of ice. I named it as C. What I'll do, I'll take one more object as A. Remember, here the temperature is assumed it is T2. For example, the temperature for this ice block is T2. Temperature. Now, for this block A, initially the temperature is T1. Okay, if you see that when you're placing any block on this ice, what will happen? There will be having some heat transfer. Okay, the chillness will move, and what will happen? Both will be in the same equilibrium condition. Remember, same equilibrium condition, or we can say the balance condition. So both objects will get under balanced temperature, equilibrium temperature, same temperature. Clear?
Okay.
Now, what I'll take? I'll take one more object, block B. Okay, this temperature is T3. And remember, A and B both are not in contact. A is separately placed and B is separately placed. Now, when you're placing again, the temperature of the block B will be same equal to T2 for the ice block, correct? So A and C are under equilibrium, correct?
Mm.
And B and C are in equilibrium, correct?
Mm.
Even though A, B are not in contact, both are under equilibrium. This is nothing but your zeroth law.
Okay.
Right? Okay, good. Now, first law we'll see. First law. First law, so zeroth law, it is related to equilibrium. First law is something what? I'll take a small relation. Okay. So we call it as heat engine. It was important actually. Heat engine.
Yeah.
Heat engine. Now, so you do you know thermal power plant?
Thermal power plant, yeah.
Okay. What is the principle behind power plant? Have you visited before?
Visited.
Okay, good.
No, I'm
Okay.
not visited.
Okay. Do you know what is the principle behind it? Okay, anyway. So what is the fuel there in thermal power plant?
It
Fuel.
works on the principle. Heat
No,
is
leave it the principle. Leave the principle. Fuel. What is the fuel they are using?
fuel. Burning fuel.
Yes, burning fuel. Yes, correct.
No, it is the heat release. It works on the principle that heat released by burning fuel, right?
Yes, what is the fuel? What
Working.
type of fuel they use?
I don't know.
Okay, coal.
Coal.
Yes, they will burn the coal. Okay, so when the coal was burning, so the water will be passing in the tubes. Whatever the water was passing in the tubes, because of the radiation, because of the temperature, this water will convert into steam. This water will convert into steam. So they'll create a high pressured steam. So because of the different areas of the volumes, and they'll create a high pressured steam. Now we'll take a same example. So here it is a temperature T1. Okay, this is your source. This is your source. So that means they are creating some pulverized coal burning. Okay, they were creating some steam. The steam was passing into the tubes. The steam was passing into the tubes. Now, when the tubes are fallen on the turbine, do you know what is turbine?
Yeah, turbine.
Okay. Yes, wind turbines you may have seen. It is nothing but bigger wheels, bigger spinning wheels, fans will be there. Okay. So when the steam was fallen on the turbine, what will happen? It will try to rotate. Okay, that means it was doing some work. Correct. It was doing some work.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it is doing some work, then only the electricity was generated. This turbine is converted to generator. Okay, so we'll convert mechanical to electrical energy here. We'll convert mechanical to electrical energy. That means when the temperature fallen on the turbine, when this high pressure steam fallen on the turbine, so it was doing some work, rotating, then only it will try to convert into electricity. Now, if you remember that, if you see that, so whatever the steam was fallen, so they will be releasing the steam again when it is come out of it, because so whatever the temperature here, the same temperature will be on the turbine, but when it is coming out of it, the temperature will be different. Okay, so the temperature will be T2. So T1 is your source. Okay, and when the steam was fallen on the turbine, the heat will be there. The heat, I'll say it as Q1. When the releasing, when it is coming out of it, we can say it is sink. Okay, and it is returned back to the same position. So it will convert into the water from the cooling towers. Again, the water will be sent back to the boilers, and that is a cyclic process. Now, if you see the heat engine, if you cut all the things, so from T1 to T2, okay, so the temperature, that is the steam was flowing. Okay, so the steam Q1 and the heat was Q2. Q is nothing but your heat. So here the temperature is T1, here the temperature is T2. Q1 is your heat was flowing from one point to the point. In between, it was doing some work. Remember, in between, it was doing some work. Okay, and the balance steam was coming out of it. So the whole process, we call it a steam engine. See that Q1 is equal to the heat. Q1 is equal to work done plus Q2. Q1 is equal to work done plus Q2. Now I'm relating with respect to your first law. So that means Q is nothing but your heat. Q is equal to W plus work done. That means it was doing some work related to your internal energy. Okay, so Q is equal to U plus W. So it will be having its own internal energy making some work. Q is equal to U plus W. It is your first law. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Second law is nothing but it was opposing. That means, so there is no internal source. Second law says it was opposing the first law. So that means they are saying that there is no internal energy. They will be having some external sources. Then only we can able to do some work. That means same process T1. Okay, same process T2. To do this work, we have to grieve some work. Remember earlier, we are ejecting the work. We are doing the work from the system. Now we are taking the work to the system. So second law is work to be done to the system. Okay, it was opposing the first law. Now for this one, we call it as a refrigerator. There is a process, there is an example, refrigerator. Okay, whatever the refrigerator it was there in your homes, the same process is there. Okay, or else you know what the AC is, right? Split AC, you have in your homes, right? Split AC.
Yeah.
Right. So if you see that outside there is a fan, we call it as compressor.
Yeah.
Okay, so that compressor, it was extracting air from the outside and it was pumping to the inside of the home. Correct?
Yeah.
So because of the external sources, we are getting the chillness in your home. Right? So this is your second law. So,
okay.
And same thing, refrigerator also. So if you see the back side, there will be having some small compressor. Because of the compressor, we are getting the chillness inside our refrigerator. Okay, without the compressor, there is no work done, even though we are giving the supply. Same thing for the AC also. Without any compressor, there is no chillness, even though we are getting the supply. So this is your second law. Okay, these laws are important, and there are some work functions are there. There are some processes are there under first law. Isobaric process, isothermal process, adiabatic process, isochoric process. There are so many things are there. Have you heard these things?
No.
Okay, good, super. Okay, now so what are the topics which you are discussing? It was there in your chemistry, but here we will discuss about the work functions. That means how it was working, what is the process. Those work functions we will discuss under physics, but the reactions will be there under chemistry. Okay, now so I'll stop here. Okay, so do you like it? Anything is okay?